Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Now, I've been having this dilemma about the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. I absolutely love the unit. I love the effects in it. And to be honest, I do like the amps in it, but it's never as good as running one of my real amplifiers into my recording devices. So if I'm plugging one of my amplifiers into a cab, or I'm plugging into a low box or an attenuator, I much prefer that sound than the sound that I'm getting out of the Quad Cortex. Now, all the amplifiers inside the Quad Cortex do sound great, but there's nothing like the response that you get by plugging into a real amplifier. So I've been trying to work out a way that I can have my amplifiers going straight into the Quad Cortex, so I can record using the Quad Cortex and use all of the effects inside the Quad Cortex, but also use my real amplifiers and have the control over those amplifiers. Recently I got a BluGuitar Amp1 Iridium Edition. It's a great sounding amplifier, but what I'd like to do with this amplifier is to run it through some of the effects and to actually record using this amplifier because it's so versatile. So what I've done here, I've taken the record out of the BluGuitar Amp1, which is the same as the headphone out, and I'm running that into return 1 inside the Quad Cortex. As I said, I've got my guitar plugged into the BluGuitar Amp1 and it's running into the Quad Cortex, but if I play my guitar, we get no sound out of it, because what I've got to do is to set my inputs and outputs on the Quad Cortex to hear all this. So where it says input 1, just click there, and I'm going to choose return 1 as my input. Now there's two things I need to explain just quickly. I'm running into return 1 because the return 1 is a line input as opposed to a mic input or an instrument input, which is your inputs 1 and 2 on the Quad Cortex. So if you're going to do it this way, go into return 1 or return 2. The next thing I need to do is just to make sure that the BluGuitar amp sim is actually off on that headphone out. So what I do is I hold down my boost button and I wait till it flashes, and I'm just going to hit the first button. So that's turned off the amp sim and it sounds like this. The reason why I want to use the Quad Cortex is because I want to use some of the inbuilt speaker models and IRs that I can choose, which I can load up inside the Quad Cortex. So I'm going to click on the Quad Cortex and I'm going to come down to cab. Now the cab that I really like in the Quad Cortex is this Zilla Mini Mod RB17. So now I've got a properly processed sound coming out of the BluGuitar Amp1 going into the Quad Cortex, and I can change my sounds here. The great thing about this is I've got total control with all of the controls on top of the BluGuitar Amp1. So if I want to change a sound, I can do that immediately as opposed to having to dive into menus on the Quad Cortex. Now the next thing I want to do is to set up a reverb and delay. So I'm going to click here and let's put a delay in first. Let's choose digital delay and let's put a reverb in as well. And as they've just released the shimmer verb, let's choose that shimmer and click done. So now it sounds like this. Which to me is a really good ambient clean sound. Now if I want to change anything else, I can just click here. Let's add some modulation in. Let's click on modulation and let's choose tremolo. Now say that I don't want that shimmer effect, I just want a standard hall reverb. I can click on the reverb, change device, and let's choose a hall reverb, and let's turn off the modulation. Now to me, that is a way better sound than I'm going to get out of any of the models that are built into the Quad Cortex. So I can turn on my drive sounds. if I want to change any of the sounds, it's really easy because I've got all the controls, as I said, on top of the BluGuitar Amp1. If you've got an amplifier that's got a line output, you can do exactly the same thing. So you don't have to use the BluGuitar Amp1, even though it is fantastic. If you've got an amplifier that's just got a standard line out, you can run that into a Quad Cortex or something like the Quad Cortex, something that has speaker modeling, and you'll get the same sort of sounds out of it. Anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of that. If you did get something out of it, perhaps you consider liking and subscribing, clicking on the bell button, and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.